Hello and welcome to episode 3 of PodQuest, the gaming show made by local gamers to stream to you. I gotta really work on my intros. These are getting really bad.
I think you nailed it. You knocked it out of the park.
I am your host, Player 1, Dustin Lyon. With me today is...
Kelsy Polnick, Player 2.
Paul English, Player 3.
Tyson Salmonson, Player 4.
Awesome. Glad to have you on the show, Tyson. You're pretty much our very first guest spot.
Happy to be here.
Had to bring in an expert for a specific topic.
Today we're talking about MMOs, wide field of stuff to talk about there. So before we get started, though, why don't we talk about, our usual what we've been playing this week. So, Kelsy, why don't you start? What have you been playing or doing this week?
I am up to 889 moons in Mario Odyssey. There's only one in-game moon left that I need to find. It's one of those art puzzles. And I just can't. We've scoured every kingdom so far and can't figure out the puzzle. So now it's just getting coins and buying the shop boons to boost me up. So I'll probably get to 998 and then be frustrated with that last art puzzle.
Up to that point when you're like, okay, you know what? I will now look up a strategy guide.
I refuse to look it up. I feel like I can figure it out because I figured out every other thing in this game but the one thing. So
Gotcha.
I keep plugging away.
You haven't looked up anything yet?
No. I never do when I play a game the first time through. If I want to play it through a second time and 100% something, then I will look it up. But I always make myself figure things out the first time through.
That's pretty good.
It's fun.
Paul, how about you?
The norm, PUBG, much to Tyson's chagrin. Overwatch, because the new hero came out. Battlefront, obviously, because I revel in the train wreck that is EA.
You're one with the dark side.
Exactly. We actually installed Command & Conquer 3 and its DLC this week and been playing that. It's free on Origin, and it's still supported online, which is great.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's tons of fun.
How old is Command & Conquer 3?
Oh, it's old. I had to download special programs to play it online, but me and some friends have been playing that. Black Friday sales, so I picked up a bunch of games and just kind of been messing around with that.
Yeah, I didn't really pick up a whole lot on... I didn't pick up anything on Black Friday, to be honest. Everything that was advertised, I was just like, I either have or I just don't care about it.
There was a couple really niche titles. I was like, yeah, I should just have that in my library. I'll play through it one time.
Yeah, I could have gone up to Walmart and bought Deadpool for PS4 for $10, but I forgot about it. But
yeah, I bought it on.
It's still $20 no matter what anyway, so I'm not losing a whole lot of money on that.
I bought everything on Steam. So,
Tyson, how about you? What have you been playing?
I have been playing PUBG, a little bit of World of Warcraft, and yesterday I bought Civ 6 on the Steam sale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I played 10 minutes last night.
It's a great game.
I know, I'm excited to play. I was a big fan of Civ 5.
I haven't played past 2.
Are you
a
playing
lot of that though?
Are you back on vanilla? WoW?
Not yet. I played on a private server for a while 6 months ago, but I'm waiting for
Classic.
the actual classic servers to come out whenever they come out soon.
My friend's playing on a European classic server because they're the only ones that are still up.
Yeah.
So we might.
I think Blizzard dropped the hammer pretty hard on a lot of them after they announced their own servers.
Mm-hmm. This week I've been playing Pokemon Ultra Sun, trying to get through that quite a bit. It's kind of grindy again because you're going through the exact same story stuff you did before with some new stuff, but I played smart by transferring over some weaker level Pokemon from my previous game, so at least it was not atrocious. Like, you could actually get through the game decently. Like, you could actually have a fire type with you with a water type and stuff and kind of be ready for everything.
That's a good idea.
Also been playing Mario Odyssey as of last night. 656 power moons.
Nice.
And that includes, as you and I were talking about this morning before we were getting set up, that includes bypassing the darker side challenge.
Cheated his way through.
Hey, I managed to make the frog glitch work, so... I did, with all due honesty, though, I did try my best at the challenge. It is really, really hard.
The last part that you got to where it's got the floating platforms with the like laser rings and the little pokey guys, it's actually not as hard as it seems the first time you get there.
No, it's not. But when I got there, though, I only had 1 health left.
Yeah, like it's really easy.
And then
to
as
do that part.
soon as I died, it was like, guess what? You're back at the very
Oh, yeah.
beginning. Oh no!
It's frustrating to die there, totally. But it's not as hard as it seems because the first time you go through, you don't know how to manage everything, and there's a lot coming at you. But if you just manage those little pokey guys as they come at you, it's really easy.
Right, because when I did land in that area, though, you see the little pokey guys. It's like, okay, throw your hat. You're like, hang on, I don't want to hit the laser thing.
Yeah, and if you don't hit the laser thing, none of the other ones go off, and you've just got those little pokey guys to deal with.
See, now here's a question though: did you do it with Yuri? Were you guys playing 2-player, or were you doing it by yourself?
I did that part by myself.
Okay.
He got like you got frustrated after a like 12th death or something, and he's like I'm just gonna watch you do it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I was gonna say that area would be perfect for 2-player mode because
Yeah,
the hat can just control itself and not hit the lasers. You'd be fine. But doing it by yourself is quite the challenge.
We died on there on 2-player mode quite a few times, and then once he stopped playing and I was able to do it just by myself, I actually finished it in like 3 tries, I think.
Okay. But yeah, I did try it, but I eventually was like, you know what, let's try this frog glitch, and I managed to make it work.
Yeah, right after that
So-
part you died on, the only thing that's left is you get one of those little like Japanese robins from Bowser's Kingdom, and you have platforms that are like flying around on chains, and you have to poke onto them and like fly up these moving platforms, and then you're done.
I'm not bad with those ones, but the controls sometimes lock off on me. Like, I think I'm poked, but it's like, no, you're not poked. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, and you've only got a little square, so it's pretty precise timing.
If we have any keen fans, I'd like them to go back and track their star progression from the first episode and see who makes the biggest leap in stars in the shortest amount of time.
It's Kelsy.
Moons, yeah, moons. Well, I don't know.
Not anymore,
I feel
though.
that he made a big jump, like from week 2 to 3, where Kelsey's was over 4 weeks, because there was a while where Dustin didn't play it. I don't think.
Well, there's tons of games I'm playing right now. Like I haven't gotten back to playing Dot Hack right now because I also realized, oh no, I haven't finished Persona 5. I just started playing Dot Hack, and now Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming up pretty quick here. I'm like, oh man, it's too many RPGs.
Backlog.
So much Japanese.
That's what my Steam list is. It's just a giant backlog of games that I need to play, but I'm like, I don't have time to invest in that because I'm playing terrible games like PUBG or games that
I'm
make
like
me
Paul.
salty.
Unreleased
like Overwatch.
games like PUBG.
Yeah.
Did you hear they announced
Venomous
Valkyria
multiplayer
Chronicles
games.
4, Dustin?
Oh yes, I did see
Yeah,
that.
that's exciting, too.
Yeah, it's for Switch and PS4, isn't it?
Was it Switch? I just saw PS4.
Okay, I thought I saw something for
That'd
Switch.
be amazing if that came out.
But yeah,
for
Mike
Switch,
play
but-
PUBG?
I don't think so.
No, that's too bad. Because he'd be the most venomous person to
It'd
play
be
with,
great. I would love to be in
I
a
would
Skype call with
love-
him. Yeah.
to play that game with him.
Maybe we'll get it as a video. Maybe we'll play some PUBG.
Oh, Mike plays PUBG. Yes, please.
All right. Well, let's move on to our news breakdown of the top stories that we saw this week. The first story, which is a bit of a sad story, this happened, I believe, last weekend, that the voice actress for Bulma for Dragon Ball Super, the Japanese voice actress, passed away. They're unsure what exactly happened, but it seemed like she had some sort of medical fault, or not a heart attack or something, but basically she just passed away in the vehicle that she was sitting in.
It sounds like she like had enough time to like pull over and put her hazards on and like didn't cause an accident or anything, which is pretty impressive if you're going into that kind of fatal cardiac arrest.
Yeah. So, and then the team at Dragon Ball Super gave her a little touching message over Twitter and stuff and everything, which is sad too because her character in the story arc right now hasn't been in the anime because they're busy doing this big tournament. So it's almost poetic that like they won't kill off Bulma.
Vegeta wasn't there to
But
save
yeah,
her.
like Vegeta wasn't there to save her.
Yeah.
So
It's
sad.
It's sad because I think she has been Bulma since
The beginning.
Dragon Ball.
beginning,
Yeah,
yeah.
she has been, and that hits me right in the feels because that is like my anime. That's my show. That's the show the first anime I really fell in love with. I own it. I've watched it a bajillion times. Like I love that show. And interesting enough, her last line of dialogue in the show was, "Everyone, do your best. I'm counting on you all."
Yeah, again
Touching.
that nice
Touching.
little like poetic
Feels.
kind of
Yeah.
the feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which is kind of sad. So it's, I know that they'll find a replacement for her, but it's just it is sad that
Yeah.
she was the original Bulma, On top of other stuff, she's also been in other animes too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Bulma
But
being
that's-
one of the biggest ones.
The one that I care about the most.
So we're set.
Bulma. One of my first anime crushes.
Oh,
Paul's waifu.
My
Paul's
waifu.
waifu.
She can take my Dragon Ball for a
whoa!
Dustin will censor that out.
long line of beep.
No, I'll just censor it with like Kamehameha or something
Yeah.
like that. Our next story is kind of a ongoing story that we talked about the last previous podcasts. Belgium, Australia, and Hawaii aiming to ban loot boxes.
I think a couple other European countries now too.
Yeah.
As of earlier this week, I think a bunch of other people have hopped on the bandwagon.
Well, that goes to the question of, and maybe we'll ask Tyson this on his opinion, are loot boxes considered gambling?
I agree wholeheartedly. I think they're gambling all the way. You're paying money for something that it's possible you get the big payout, or it's possible you get nothing.
Someone pointed out to me that it's not technically gambling because you always get something. You might not get the thing you want. You might get a terrible prize, but you always get a prize, kind of like a claw machine. Whereas if you're gambling, you can go in and bet your $100
don't
on a
always
poker
get something,
game,
right?
and you walk out with nothing.
That's true.
In Battlefront, I thought I heard maybe that there are chances you just whiff and get nothing.
Well, you are always guaranteed to get
Like
scrap parts and
Oh,
50 coins.
brutal.
So
Basically just junk stuff that you use to redeem stuff later on.
and loot boxes. The Star Wars one definitely I feel is gambling, especially for, and may not be gambling, but it promotes gambling to the wrong audience. And that's I think that's the biggest thing that the conclusion we've come to is who is your target audience and who's going to be playing your game. The other thing is other games with loot boxes, if it's aesthetic stuff, like I don't have like I said before, I don't have a problem with that. If you want to spend money to get Reinhardt's new cool costume and you don't have the foresight to be saving your coins or like your currency in Overwatch in advance to buy something, because there's always going to be a Christmas special, there's always going to be a Halloween special, there's always going to be costumes coming out of this time that you can pay with in-game currency that you earn.
But the thing is, like, Overwatch compared to, like, say, League of Legends, when you play Overwatch, you don't earn coins by playing matches. You only get coins left over from opening previous loot boxes, though.
True.
Or
And
or selling stuff you've already gotten, but of course it's drastically reduced as to how many coins you get. Like this sticker that you already have, if you were to buy it brand new, is 100 coins in game, but you sell it, it's like, oh, here's 35 coins.
Well, and gaining levels, you get loot boxes, so it's just like if you want new stuff, play the game, play our game. If you want your character to look cool, play our game. I'm fine with that.
Overwatch is good. I feel like it's not too long to get a skin. Like you play, I don't know, 25 hours you get a skin, but Battlefront seems pretty bad.
I feel like League of Legends was a little worse.
Yeah,
Like,
things like that.
Granted, there was progression, like you could just grind and get stuff, but a lot of the newer skins, you would have to wait 6 months before you could buy with your in-game currency instead of just your money currency.
When I played League of Legends, you couldn't buy skins with in-game currency. It was money or nothing. I think.
That's true.
Yeah.
Battlefront, I still have not. I've unlocked like a ton of characters. I think I almost have all the characters unlocked, and I haven't been like playing at a crazy amount. Maybe I'm just that good, guys. Maybe I'm just that good.
You got in on though, like you got the bonus points before they reduced everything too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying last week, that maybe that was a benefit to me, that I was playing it when you still got a lot of points. But
not
even now,
cashing
like,
them in when the prices are
Yeah.
high too. Yeah.
because I was following the news like a smirk boy.
Sell!
Here is your lesson about video games, kids. You have the internet. Use it to follow the news to get the best out of what you're buying.
Especially on multiplayer focused games, that first month is almost always a train wreck.
Yeah.
And then they'll smooth things
Do
out.
your research.
Yeah.
Be a smart boy like me.
Be like Paul.
Yeah.
That's the core message here.
We in no way support that comment at GameQuest.
I kind of like what China's done with loot boxes, and they've made every company who does loot boxes in their country release the statistics or like the percentile for.
I do like that. I wish that there would be more of that. Like if loot boxes do need to stay, then yes, give us a breakdown.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, with all these countries and states in the U.S. Jumping on board, do you think the ESRB will try and be proactive and come up with some kind of solution before anything gets legislated?
No.
We're
Has the
just going to
ESRB
hammer
ever
it
done
and
that?
fill the world with negativity.
That's why we have the ESRB. That was the game industry being proactive.
Yeah.
So that violent video games weren't regulated by the government.
I feel like violent games were an uproar for everyone, people included who weren't playing video games, but loot boxes just make people who play video games angry.
Yeah.
They've started just now spilling into the mainstream consciousness when you've got companies like Disney saying, like, why is everyone mad at Star Wars right now? We have a movie coming out in a few weeks, and you've got all these countries that have no correlation to each other all jumping on board.
And I feel that loot boxes haven't hit a mainstream game where kids are affected as much until Star Wars came out, because it's a game for kids. Essentially, like, Star Wars is a property that
Sure.
goes for kids and stuff like that, and a lot
Mhm.
of kids are going to buy it,
Mhm.
and a lot of parents are going to play that game with their kid, because that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
The only other
because
example I can think of is the last NBA 2K game that came out. I think you'd have a lot of spillover from old and young, and it had pretty bad loot boxes in there too.
I think you're right
But
too,
it's-
Paul, because like you're saying, like Star Wars is a big franchise. Like it's adults, it is kids. Like I'm thinking like other loot box stuff, like Overwatch and stuff. Overwatch is not as like it is big,
It's big,
but it's not
but it's
as
still
big
Star
as
Wars
Star
big,
Wars.
yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars media is bigger than basketball media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree
So
with that.
like NBA 2K, I'd be very curious to see how many people bought that game, and then just compare it with the
Compared to
complaints.
Battlefront, it's probably just
No
minuscule.
comparison. Like I don't think, like NBA 2K had loot boxes. NBA.
Sports games
don't
make
get me
big
wrong, I like-
numbers.
they do
They're-
big
like a lot of
numbers,
gamers just them and don't buy them, but the general public buys them like crazy.
And I like watching NBA, but I don't know. NBA loot boxes. You're not in the news. Get out of here.
Maybe the Star Wars loot box is the first thing that maybe like kids have gotten into, but in the past, microtransactions in mobile games have been really bad for
Oh, yeah.
kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, because they could be sitting there playing on their dad's thing. Oh, hey, you want 1,000 cherries? Sure, and they hit the button,
Why
and
is my
then dad all
internet
of a sudden
bill
goes,
$500?
"Yeah,
this
why do I
month?"
have $500 on my cell phone bill?" Yeah, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Our next and final story is the Game Awards have released their nominees.
They're coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I like the list of nominees. Like it feels like it's lacking, but granted, is 2017 kind of lacking in terms of games this year?
I think most people disagree. A lot of people think this year is like one of the best in a long, long time. And I think most of the nominees deserve their spots. There's only a few,
That's true.
few weird ones.
There are on this list of that they have there are a number of weird ones. Like granted, the game of the year seems okay, but it's going to be an interesting split down the middle, because they have, for game of the year, the nominees are The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Player Unknown Battlegrounds, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Which
So,
one of
like,
these is
they're
not
all-
the other?
Yeah, there is definitely, just because the numbers it put up and the records it broke, I don't think it's going to be a split. I think PUBG is going to be a landslide victory for Game of the Year, unfortunately.
It's not popularity, though. It's a panel of judges, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're going to take that in consideration.
Sure, that'll affect them, but
So they have under their. I
Do you want
did.
to bet money on this, Paul? Let's do some.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah,
do our own
do some
gambling here.
Let's do some loot boxes.
I think Mario's taking it.
I don't think so, because I don't think Mario's done enough to be...
I don't think it's about
new
numbers
game.
in this case.
Well, here,
Mario's really good, but I don't think it's changed enough to be a new enough game to beat out something like PUBG.
Well, here, let me interject you, because I did look into the FAQ on here, because they do ask some questions like, what entitles a game to be nominated? Is a game that's technically not released allowed to be included and stuff? And one of the things they had listed on there is that it seems the results of this, 90% of the vote comes from the affiliated medias and 10% from fans of this website right now,
Yeah.
which that doesn't seem fair.
No. Welcome to 2017 Game of the Year PUBG.
I guess PUBG wins. Yeah.
Sorry, Kelsey.
I'm
so
going
wildly
against the grain.
popular.
I still think
I don't
Mario's
think you're going
taking
against
this.
the grain, because there's a lot of Mario fans, and to see Mario come back with the Switch, what's doing so good, and all this kind of stuff, but your goody video game persona, what you want to win, what you'd like to win. It's not going to do it anymore. We live in a
It's
tough,
never
gritty
done
world
it. It's
of
the game I
garbage
want to
video
win.
games that
Never
are
wins
unfinished
Game of
and
the Year.
glitchy, and they sell more money. The almighty dollar casts a large shadow.
So because this game's not technically released yet, do you think it's eligible for next year as well if it still does really well
It
next year?
shouldn't be eligible for this year,
Mm-hmm.
but it does come out in December.
December
Maybe that's why
7th, I think, is the
Yeah.
cutoff. No, it was November 17th was
November
the cutoff.
17th.
Yeah.
So
But on their list here, though, they said that someone did ask, why are games that are not
Early
released
access.
but they said their argument was that because it was available for public consumption, that it was acceptable to be a nominee. But I'm kind of in the same boat too, where like when the game's not technically released, it shouldn't be a nominee yet.
I got something player unknown can publicly consume. Does that make me eligible for Game of the Year?
Not just player, and it's got to be everyone consuming it. You
Oh,
don't
okay.
want that.
What do you
to
think
happen.
about the cutoff being in November too? Shouldn't they like push this awards back to like January or February and have an actual 2017 Game of the Year?
It should be.
Because there's not a ton of games it's going to cut out, but it cuts out Xenoblade Chronicles 2 from being eligible for like RPG and music and art style and all
Right.
these
Not
things
that
that
it was going to
because-
win, but Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah,
It could have won
Because-
visually because it's a gorgeous looking
yeah.
game.
Well, because look at next year when they go Best Game of 2018, at the very end, if it makes it,
PUBG,
hey, we
yeah.
have Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then everyone's already forgotten about it by that time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this
exactly.
year, I think Last Guardian got snubbed for a few categories. Definitely not Game of the Year, but they can be up there in quite a few others visually and artistically. They should be in some categories, and that came out like early December last year, and it's not up for anything.
The hype
I-
was gone.
Yeah,
I
the
also-
hype's gone, and it's not a game that has that DLC pushing it every few months to keep it in people's minds.
In PUBG's defense, this year was PUBG Early Access.
Mm-hmm.
Next year it's going to be nominated for PUBG Real Game.
They're gonna change the name a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Player Unknown's completed battlegrounds.
Exactly. Give
Well,
me all
it's
your
not
monies.
going to be player unknown. We're going to know it's just it's the internet.
Players battle.
The internet's
battleground.
battleground.
Yeah.
I do like that Persona 5's in there, but it almost feels like Persona 5's going to get scuffed off.
Yep.
For Game of the Year, yeah, but looking through some other categories, I was doing my own little votes. I think it has a really good chance to win for music and a really good chance to win for RPG.
There's a
Right.
lot of
Actually,
like,
right. I want to look at the music
They
part.
shoehorned a lot of stuff in here. I feel like
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn, like it had a lot of hype that
Yeah.
it didn't like deliver on. And they're
Well,
just
I think it's
They have a
delivered
lot of
on.
other weird...
It's had sales. It's had really good DLC response. People have been pretty happy about the open world not feeling as empty as a lot of other open world games.
because I've heard a lot of people pan it, but I guess it's only 10% of gamer
Yeah, I
votes.
think you might be hearing the minority on that one.
Yeah.
It seems like it's doing really, really well.
Well,
I
here's
am the minority on a lot of things.
here's another thought about this. When you roll to the very bottom of the list, best esports team, best esports player. Why is that
I don't know
a
why
voting
that's
category?
interesting. Or there's like trending gamer and why Chinese games?
Yeah,
why do they get a
best Chinese
specific,
game?
That's.
category?
I didn't even see that. That's
Yeah.
best Chinese. Oh, best Chinese game. What?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's a big thing
most
now.
anticipated game. Why do you need an award for that?
PUBG. PUBG's the
Yeah,
most
anticipated's a really hard one to categorize
I
here.
also say probably PUBG is the #1 Chinese game this year too.
So their newest, weirdest category too is that ongoing game. What do you guys think of that one?
Oh yeah, actually, hang on, I gotta find that one again. Best ongoing games are, let's see,
Because that's such a broad definition.
Warframe, Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, Grand Theft Auto Online, Destiny 2, Player Unknown Battleground.
So there's 3 MMOs in there, which is topical, but I don't know like why these 3 in particular got chosen. Warframe isn't particularly popular, I don't
And
think.
yeah,
And-
Warframe because just recently
They
like,
switched everything up.
switched
Yeah.
everything up, and what it was before too.
It was like a slugfest.
Yeah, it was you had your galoshes on and you were wading through.
You were grinding.
Yeah.
You were grinding.
Correct me if I'm
hard.
wrong too, but all of these except for Player Unknown came out last year, right?
No, Rainbow Six came out in 2015.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
no, but-
I mean prior to this voting category. Like,
Yeah,
they've
they're
all
all-
been running
they're
more
all
than
older.
a year.
Yeah,
Destiny 2 came out this year, actually.
yeah.
Oh,
Grand
did
Theft
it?
Auto came out in like
A million years ago.
Yeah.
2013
14,
or
13.
14,
It's
yeah.
been around.
Yeah,
But
so
like
it's
ongoing to me means it has to run for at least 1 year where I wasn't eligible
Yeah.
for like Game of the Year. But then you see Player Unknown in here again.
And Destiny 2.
okay. Well,
Destiny 2's not ongoing. It came out a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It's brand new.
I feel that Grand Theft Auto is kind of a no-brainer in this category, just because once again, it broke
Yeah, it's
pretty
still breaking records.
substantial records.
Still
had a lot
on,
of
like,
support behind it too.
Every month is still
Yeah.
in the top 10 sales. Like it's nuts.
So I feel that like everything else, it's like, oh yeah, these are nice, but the amount of content that they are giving you, I feel that
To go on the other side though, depending on how the judges want to vote, like I've heard that Rainbow Six Siege was just the worst ever when it came out, and they've turned that game around and people love it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can see that getting some votes from judges that way, maybe not from the general public.
when that game came out, it had a hardcore fan base too that just loved it,
Mhm.
and they've supported it so much and gave you so much, and that's a big thing with a lot of video games now that come out. They'll give you really bare bones. Like look at the first Battlefront when that game came out.
The first
It was,
Destiny too.
Yeah, wasn't good, but they put so much time and effort into making it good later
Mhm.
down the road. That dark times, better
Just-
than other games that really like Titanfall that releases such an empty version of itself. It's like a test game. Instead of releasing DLC free, they'll just be like, oh yeah, in a year we'll give you Titanfall 2.
Just want to point out they have a best action game category and a best action adventure game category.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Well, there is a difference between action games and adventure games, but yeah, why is there action adventure game?
Which I think Last Guardian would have fit into nicely.
So why don't
Not
as
a lot of action.
as we leave this news
There's
story
some
here,
sweet action. The
um,
bird dog action.
why don't we each individually let's pick a game what we think will be out of the game of the year, which one we think will win game of the year, and then pick whatever one appeals to you most and what you think is going to win a certain category. So like I'll start with myself. I think as much as you probably PUBG might take game of the year, but I feel like it's going to be a split between Zelda and Mario Odyssey. I'm leaning more towards Zelda. That I hope it would take it because Mario Odyssey was great, but Zelda was definitely groundbreaking compared to other Zelda games. So I hope Legend of Zelda takes game of the year. And for me, under the best music category, it's got a lot of really interesting choices in here, like Cuphead, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. But I hope Nier Automata takes best music.
I hope it takes something this year. That game's really cool.
You made me put on the soundtrack last night at the store, and it was good.
Yeah.
It has my vote.
What about you, Kels? What's your choice?
I think Mario's taking game of the year. I think people are getting fatigued with the open world stuff, so I think Horizon and Zelda are going to kind of cancel each other out, and I don't think Persona earns that title. Unfortunately, I love the game. It's one of my favorites that I've played this year. I just don't think it's going to be on the top of everybody else's list.
It's too niche. I think.
It's far too niche. Absolutely, yeah. And I hope is Cuphead takes home a couple of awards. I want them to take home art direction at the very, very least. If they don't run away with that one, that there's something wrong with this voting system.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cuphead.
Best action game too, maybe. Like the Cuphead earns
Yeah,
a
Cuphead.
lot of accolades in my.
When I went
eyes.
through this list, I was like, Cuphead's got to take home something.
Yeah.
PUBG for me, for the reasons that I stated. Like I said, I think
For game of the year? Or?
yeah, game of the year. I feel Mario Odyssey and Zelda are good games, but they haven't done enough. And Mario Odyssey coming out after Zelda is overshadowing Zelda now.
That's true.
So I definitely think
But Mario Odyssey has been now the best-selling Mario game within, what was it, 2 weeks?
yeah.
Like it overtook New Mario Brothers Wii.
And
Like,
that was
by a
just
landslide.
physical sales. They haven't released any digital sales either.
So don't take it out of the contest yet. What about you, Tyson?
I begrudgingly think PUBG will win Game of the Year just because of its sheer popularity. I would have liked Breath of the Wild to win, but I think Kelsey was right. We're kind of getting burned out on open world games. Art direction, after listening to Nier's soundtrack last night, thanks to Dustin, I think it should win. That or Cuphead, I
You
think.
mean-
Or sorry,
For music?
For music, yeah.
I hope Persona wins some sound awards too.
My category, I'm going to go with best fighting game, and it's probably going to be Injustice 2.
Yeah, I don't think any other game in there has a chance of
Tekken
beating
7,
Injustice 2.
maybe, but Injustice is just so well done. Also, best family game, I think that's where Mario Odyssey will probably take over.
Isn't Sonic Mania under that
Yeah.
one too?
It is, but
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Granted, as a underdog, it'd be nice for Sonic Mania to take something.
Yeah.
Sonic needs a little something to keep him going.
He's doing something after all these decades of abuse.
Yeah. Well, after Sonic Forces. All right. Well, that's it for the news stories. Let's move into the main discussion here on MMO games. So I guess probably the first question we should ask ourselves is, what are the qualities that make a game MMO? Which obviously MMO standing for massive multiplayer online. So of course it's got to be online, and it's got to have at least a decent number of players.
Yeah. What's our cutoff for massive? Is that 10 people, 50
Counter-Strike an
people?
MMO?
Is League of Legends an MMO?
Yeah, I'd put both of them in
I
there.
think the idea behind MMO is you're playing with a bunch of people at once. So with Counter-Strike, you're playing in a server with 20 people. But with MMOs, you're playing in one big server with a bunch of people.
Okay. Massive.
Massive servers.
But granted, yeah. What is the scope
Is
of
there
massive?
a commonly accepted number, or are we just guessing?
I think that's just a guess.
Yeah.
Because like League of Legends, like it's only ever 5 versus 5 people, so there only ever will be 10 people. Same with like Overwatch, there's only 12 people at the same time. While World of Warcraft, you're on a server full of thousands of other players.
Could
Because-
PUBG be an MMO?
I'd say PUBG's an MMO.
You have 100 people playing in a match, right?
Mhm.
PUBG? Yeah, that's massive to me.
Because killing
Uh-oh.
me, Kelsey. But with like Counter-Strike or League of Legends, you can play out a game and then immediately get into another game that has another random amount of set players. So is that not an MMO?
I think there needs to be continuity too. So if you're on an MMO server, it's always there. It's always on for the most part. You play a game of PUBG and then the server closes and you play another fresh game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But a lot of the early ones were like closed network stuff where
That's
people were
true.
playing like D&D text adventures together with like 50 other students at a university kind of thing, and they called that massive multiplayer online. I think that's like the birth of the genre.
Well, the other thing we got to keep in mind too is that there are
It's massive to
there are
me.
genres of MMOs too, because like
Yeah.
you know there are
So many genres.
there are tons of MMO RPGs, but like MMO as a broad scope of everything, like playing a game online with people could almost be considered an MMO. But I think you do have to have at least, let's say, above 6 other people on at the exact same time.
I think it's got to be at least double digits for
Or,
me.
yeah, okay.
I wouldn't call like Diablo 2 like massive multiplayer
No.
online, but it's multiplayer online.
The definition is very broad.
Yeah. I can't believe how long this genre's been around. I thought it was kind of like
Dino.
birthed in the like no, not Dino. It's definitely doing really well. I just thought it was birthed more in the like 90s. I can't believe it reaches back to like the 70s. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Kelsey has done his homework for this.
I like to read about video games. It's fun.
Good, that's good. Well,
Like the first commercial one they read about was like a air combat one. It wasn't even like an RPG style one. It was like fighter planes, and they'd have like a whole bunch of different people online killing each other with fighter jets. Like
that's sweet.
that is kind of sweet.
Yeah,
sounding.
that is sweet.
Especially for like I think that one was like late 80s too. Like that's crazy for back
Yeah,
then.
that is really crazy if you think about it.
So I guess then maybe as we dive deeper into the discussion here, what are like some of the most important MMOs, like for in terms of ones that are really successful and the ones that are, not as well known but still play really good. Obviously, World of Warcraft would be one of the biggest ones because it's still
If not,
I think that's the
the
most important
longest
one
running
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I think
MMO
so as
RPG.
well.
I don't think anyone can contest that.
Yeah.
I think EverQuest is up there, the original one.
EverQuest is one of the Ultima and EverQuest seem to be the first two like that really popularized
Nexus,
the genre
the
and
OGs,
boosted it up.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Warcraft like took that and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever play Nexus?
I have not.
Nexus was like Link to the Past
Okay.
graphics,
Mhm.
top down, and it was like Ultima where you went around.
Oh, cool.
It was a great
Yeah.
game, and it was really, really deep. They had like clans, and they do really awesome events
Mhm.
all the time, and everything was like pixelated, and it looked really sweet. Look it up. It's a super cool game.
I should.
It was like $5 when I was in high school a month, and like
Ooh, a month though. That's breaking the bank.
yeah, especially back in high school. And that was like one of the first games I remember ever having to farm anything. Going to school and leaving a rock on the space bar. So you're like mining all day while I'm at school, and I come home like, woohoo! So,
Another important MMO, RuneScape.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the
Yep.
most important, I think.
That was the one that it was the top down perspective, right?
Top down, real 8-bitty looking, not 8-bit, real old dated graphics.
Right.
They rolled with it though.
This was the one that we were making the joke about it last night, where it was like, oh hey, I need to get in this door. Well, you can't come in. Why? Because I'm blocking the door.
Yeah, you need.
Well, you need 84 speed or whatnot to open this door.
You got to grind 10,000 hours to get that speed.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Cool.
Guild Wars 2 was really big. It kind of
I forgot about Guild Wars. Yeah, that's a big one.
shifted the direction for like open worldy group quests.
I think everyone we've mentioned so far has been like fantasy based too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fantasy because I'm just thinking they had like Neverwinter Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because I think
Republic was really good.
they
Neverwinter
just
was one of
announced
the earlier
Neverwinter Nights
ones,
just
too.
released like they have like I guess they're calling it like a 4K HD update to like their original one. Like that almost sounds like they're trying to pull a vanilla World of Warcraft by releasing their previous one.
I have friends that still play that on private servers because you can do it where one person controls the game that you're playing and kind of sets all the enemies and stuff like that in the play, and they still do that. Kind of like being a DM. In
I was
the
gonna say
game.
that's the real Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons.
Yeah.
Is RuneScape the longest running one now, or is there something else? Like Eve.
RuneScape is the longest running one. I think it
Longer
just
than
won
EVE
that.
Online?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
won that award a little while ago. They've like RuneScape evolved and like rebranded itself 3 or 4 times, but then they re-released original RuneScape like 2 years ago, and it's their most popular one.
So is this the same consecutive running one though, or just series running?
'Cause
that sounds like they.
It's the
rebooted
same
it.
consecutive running one, but they've like every couple of years they'll rebrand it and they'll call it. This is now RuneScape 2. We've updated the graphics.
There's another one I read about called Gemstone that's been running since the late '80s again, but then they've rebranded it a few times, so they don't technically. It's not the same game that's been running the whole time because there's like a Gemstone 1, 2, 3, 4 basically,
okay.
but it has been running for like 30 years basically.
With RuneScape, they call it RuneScape 2, but you'd keep your character. They just updated the visuals and added. It's like basically like an expansion, I think.
Okay, interesting.
Just RuneScape 2.0.
Yeah,
instead
pretty
of just
much,
being
yeah.
RuneScape 2. Yeah, but so the question then obviously because like you were saying the text-based stuff. So I guess the question is when did the MMOs really start? Like obviously it must have been starting with like the text-based
Yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
There was one called Rogue and one called Dungeon, and they were both like university servers. Like you'd have like 30 to 50 people playing on a closed network, and there were like D&D, like Zork kind of text adventures that we play together. Sounds like the earliest ones I could read about.
Was that the one that they made a movie about it starring Tom Hanks, and he plays this on? I think it's either a pen and paper D&D, but I think it was the online D&D text adventure ones. And he like goes crazy, and they find him in a cave, and it might be based on a true story of a guy who like killed his family.
Tom
and himself.
Hanks? I cannot. I think.
Is this
about
another
that
one of those
movie.
fever dreams that you had last night?
Maybe.
I can't see Tom Hanks starring in a movie like that.
He did a lot of weird stuff. You ever seen The Burbs? That's a sweet movie.
Fair. Yeah.
I will consult Google.
El Goog.
El Goog.
Almighty Google, we bestow upon you.
I didn't do my homework like Kelsey did. I have no idea the origins
I
of the
don't
genre.
know MMOs as well. It's one of my least favorite genres, so I had a lot to catch up on.
Well, see, for
Lot of
me, and maybe Tyson will agree to this too. For me, MMOs didn't really start till like maybe the high school era, because like
Mid 2000s.
mid 2000s, like
That's
that's the birth of the internet
what I
kind of
always
stuff.
assumed them to be spawning from there about as well. I had no idea it reached back way further than that.
I remember like my first video game experience. One of my first video game experiences, I picked up RuneScape in like grade 1.
Wow.
Yeah, like for real. One of my classmates is like, I'm playing this game on the computer called RuneScape, and as a 7-year-old, I was like, well, I want to play online with other people, and I got my mom to hook it up, and she got me all set up, and that was it. Hooked me.
Yeah, my nephew is probably pretty close to your age,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds weird to say.
That's
But
weird
you
because
played-
I can go back to thinking back to high school, like to like grade school and whatnot and everything. Like we used to just play Oregon Trail on the old
Yep.
floppy disk,
Oh,
you know,
Oregon
Number
Trail.
munchers.
number munchers and all that.
Man.
Oh,
Or we
I
just
feel so young.
we just fiddle with paint. Like we just
Yeah.
fiddle with paint program. So for me though, I think my first probably touch on it, like I never got to actually play it, but I think my first touch with MMOs was probably Phantasy Star Online for the GameCube. Because that was one of the only games that actually needed the
Network
broadband
adapter.
adapter, and it sucked that was the era where it was you needed a subscription to play it online stuff, which I'm not the biggest fan of subscription stuff. but I really wanted to play that, but I never got a chance to find the network adapter. They were gone by that point.
One of my roommates, when I first moved out of my parents' house, was really into that game. I used to watch him play it quite often, and it seemed really grindy.
It was grindy. Like, granted, I did have fun playing offline with friends, because we would all go to a buddy's place, and we'd all hook up our GameCube and all have all our memory cards with all our characters on it, plug them in, put the characters in. But it definitely got laggy on the GameCube after there's 4 people all inputting commands at the exact same time. But then obviously there was also the birth of World of Warcraft 2.
He's right.
What's this movie?
No, go ahead, Justin. I will interject with what everybody's been waiting for.
Okay, just build the suspense a little more. Obviously the big one for me, or for a lot of us too, would probably be when World of Warcraft started. Like, I never really got into it. I thought it was just kind of silly because I wasn't really big into fantasy games when it first came out. But I do know towards the end of high school, a couple of friends of mine and I think it was when the Wrath of the Lich King expansion came out, that they got really into it. Like, they went and they bought like the collector's editions of it and stuff, got like a cool hat and stuff. I was like, I'll just buy the base game and try it out, whatnot, and everything. And I had a little bit of fun with it, but then afterwards it was like, once you maxed out, it's like, what do we do now? Oh, now you can go on raids. And I was like, raids? You mean those things where you got to stay up to like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning for? Yeah. I was like, yeah, I can't. I can't do that. I'm not a night owl person, so I can't stay up too late. And so that just never applied to me.
Yeah, there were a lot of games like you said, World of Warcraft really paved the way. And there's a lot of like Star Wars. They had 2, and they were both garbage.
Second one was alright. It was really, really story based.
Yeah.
That's Knights of the Old Republic, right?
Was it Knights of the Old Republic?
It's just the Old Republic, isn't it?
No, not Knights of the Old Republic. It was just
And what was the other
Old
one? Something
Republic,
Galaxy.
something. Yeah. I'll look it up now.
Okay.
I'll Google it.
So the movie in question, starring Tom Hanks, a made-for-TV movie on CBS.
Deep
It's
cut.
called Mazes and Monsters. It deals with friends playing pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons. So a little bit off
year?
topic. December 28th, to be very specific. 1982.
82.
1982.
Ooh.
So Tom Hanks becomes disillusioned with the game they're playing. He has weird nightmares about his missing brother. He goes to commit suicide in a cavern. He has a psychotic break in which he believes he is the character from the movie. Breaks off his relationship and journeys to the top of the trade centers to jump off of them.
Oh my
So
goodness.
to just make a similarity, he basically pulls a Bender in Futurama, where Bender goes on a nutshell thinking that he's his Dungeons and Dragons character.
Yes, it actually probably could be based.
That's probably where they
Yeah.
got the idea. Oh, okay.
That's hilarious. Movie night.
I'm just gonna YouTube those clips and just quickly look at it and go, oh god.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is super young in it.
He must be for a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
Getting back on the wagon here. What are your guys' thoughts on subscriptions versus free-to-play MMOs? For me, they're both a double-edged sword, because I don't like subscriptions, but I get the premise why they need them, because they obviously need to keep the servers running, keep everything going. I would love it if it was just you buy the game and then that's it. You're on forever. But like World of Warcraft, I can understand there's a lot of people, so there's a lot of server maintenance that's got to go into it. But is it still, to this day and age now, do we still need to pay subscriptions?
For, like, in general?
In general.
I think so. Subscriptions mean there doesn't need to be microtransactions.
But do we need to pay? But do we need to pay $30 a month to keep playing this game over and over?
No, I don't think so.
Can't be that high,
It's,
right?
it's 15, I think.
Was it ever that high?
15's a little high still too. I think.
15
$5 to
makes me feel
$10
bad.
if they are constantly upgrading the game and giving you content. It's fine.
Well, because I can recall, like, when we used to play World of Warcraft, you would go into like EB Games and buy the World of Warcraft card. They give you 30 days, and it was, I think, $25.
I think it was 60 days you got the cards for.
I don't recall how long it lasted.
If I've been paying $25 a month, I feel really bad.
Just imagine all the things you could have bought.
I'll go check my credit card when I get home. Oh god.
That's a huge hurdle for me, is any sort of subscription. I like to bounce around games all the time. If I don't play something for a month, I don't want to pay for something that I'm not even touching.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other games that come out. So during the wake of the Star Wars Battlefront pay-to-win loot box controversy, there's been a lot of gamers and a lot of kind of people on the outside of the industry talking about how they believe games are not priced correctly.
Yeah.
They feel that we are paying less.
Getting a better deal per minute of entertainment. than
Yeah,
most other
that game
mediums.
should be more expensive. So now this opens up, like, if you don't want to pay subscriptions, but you still want a game that you love to be supported for a long time, are you willing to pay $200 for a game on its release?
No.
I am depending on the game. I don't know
Yeah.
how I don't know how a new IP starts up at a higher price. So that's where I would have trouble. Like, this game looks cool, but I don't know. But if it's a franchise I love, then heck yeah, I'll throw some extra money into it.
Because, you know, this, with all this talk about subscriptions and pay to win and what are you willing to pay for the quality of entertainment you get, it opens up a scary door of being priced out of a hobby that you love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so many games come out in a year that you are interested in playing. Let's say you pick up 6 games over the course of 12 months, pay, you know, ballpark average. Now, games are $80 upon release, let's say, for a special edition. So let's just round it up to $100. So you're paying $600 a year. Let's say all of a sudden that jumps up to $200 a game. You're going to play a game a year, maybe?
I don't think they jumped that high.
Let's
That
just
seems
we're
drastic.
just, you know, we're just
Yeah.
snowballing here. If because yeah, are you willing to pay a giant chunk of money right away, or are you willing to be slowly siphoned?
I think Kelsey has the right idea because like newer IPs, you wouldn't
Yeah.
just go all in unless it was something you were super dedicated on it. But eventually, if it grows and stuff, you probably could pay a little more. But it's still it's a double-edged sword of stuff because like even the free-to-play stuff, like download the game for free, you get to play for free. But a lot of all the good stuff or a lot of the main stuff of the game is behind paywalls. Where it's like you need to buy these in-game currencies in order to unlock the good stuff that actually makes the game fun.
That's why I think, excuse me, subscriptions are good. Uh-oh. Because you're not locked behind paywalls. World of Warcraft doesn't have any big paywalls, whereas things like Elder Scrolls Online, free to play, but then every so-and-so you need to...
I don't
more
think it's an
money.
issue anymore, but when the game first came out, the subscription was my paywall because I bought the game, and then there's a subscription on top of that, which
Right.
just didn't...
Because Elder Scrolls Online had that, where it was you had to buy the game for $60, and then you also had to buy subscriptions, which was when I was at EB Games, it was at the time they didn't have the pay cards out yet. They were on their way, so you could only do it by credit card, and it was like $30 a month or something like that.
Brutal.
So like that's you walked in the store and you just paid to play the game for a month and a half or so, $90
That's also like
with
Xbox
on-curring.
Live.
Yeah,
True.
People
yeah,
are
consoles
willing
have
to
that now too.
fork out money for their subscription that doesn't even allows you to play games with friends.
That's a
So-
good point, actually.
Which I'm not the biggest fan of because like I can recall PS3.
Yeah.
That's the main
PS2.
reason why I bought PS3 because you could play for free. Sorry, you could play online for free. There was no stupid Xbox Live where you had to pay
Your home
a subscription. Yeah,
Um,
but now that PS4 kind of gone that way, like I get why they want you to take the money because it's mainly for server maintenance and stuff, but because
then it kind of moots your point out about not wanting to pay subscriptions. Like
Mhm.
if you want, and like you said, new IPs coming out, with the amount of work that's going into new games, like graphically, sound,
Yeah, you're
stuff
building
like that.
assets from the ground up. You nothing you could recycle from an old game when you've got a new IP too.
Yeah. So is that like people's hard work and sweat and direction and vision go into this? Is that not worth?
right
More
because
money?
all those artists and everything they do
Yeah.
they do a lot of work, so they do definitely deserve their money because even nowadays like there's still like stories of the artists and the studios and stuff not getting what they should be paid.
Well, and the other thing too, the other side of that coin is, if games are more expensive, and people are shoehorned into buying less games a year, maybe developers won't release half-finished garbage games anymore. Because
They'll take less chances too, though. They'll
Yeah.
just pick the safe bets. Like you'll just get your Star Wars and your Grand Theft Autos and things people know
that's
about.
true.
Yeah, and then you won't get any
get
interesting new
Cuphead.
IPs. You
But
won't know
then-
Cuphead. No.
But you will, because indie games or games like that might sell at a lower price because you're not getting such a, like, Cuphead's a great game, but it's not a game like Star Wars. It's not a game that has that longevity over, like, what are they going to support in Cuphead? They'll give you a couple new bosses.
Throw a new island in there, yeah, with like 5 to 10 new bosses. Yeah.
So I'm willing to pay $2 for that. I'll pay for that, an addition onto that game. If it gives me a new island. You know, so indie games or lesser known games can release something cheaper where the big moguls have to, you know, if I'm paying $200 for a game, give me a game that's going to last me a year.
Even if it doesn't last me a year, I'd way more pay more money up front than to be nickel and dimed over a longer term.
But then also,
I see the opposite. Some families, right? Little Timmy wants to play
yeah, I was just
World of
going to say that.
Warcraft. You know, he doesn't, his mom doesn't want to shell out $200, but
Yeah.
$15 a month feels better on the wallet
Yeah.
for a lot of
Yeah,
families.
I get the reverse. Just personally,
edging.
that's not the route I'd go. But I grew up in that era where that wasn't ever an option, so
Yeah.
it still feels wrong to me.
Yeah, because if games get more expensive, you're edging a younger audience out of it.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to play it, but then I feel more parents nowadays have grown up playing video games, so they will still. Mario Odyssey comes out for $200. Kelsy knows that's going to be a good game because he loves the Mario franchise. Boom, he buys it for his son. This is your game for the next year. And that's kind of how it was when we grew up.
Yeah.
You know, you got a game
You
bought
had-
for you, and it was Mario 3. and
Maybe
you
3 to 5 games you owned when you were done with the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Bring
also,
back, then
too-
that bring back video stores,
Also,
which I'm fine with as well.
something also to keep in mind too, like how we were talking about the special editions a couple weeks back. You know, are you willing to shell out $200 for a game that maybe, let's say 6-8 months down the road, all of a sudden the whole thing shuts down? Like, it's you invested to play this game online, and oh, guess what, guys? We had some sort of huge crash. We can't save the servers; they're all gone. We have to close the studio. This is it.
There's
Goodbye.
an MMO that did that like last week.
It's
I'm
that
gonna pull it up.
Marvel game that people are really
That
upset
one,
about.
yeah.
Oh,
'cause-
Marvel Heroes.
Yeah, we just spent a bunch of money on it. We're shutting down. They were supposed to shut down in December. Now they're shutting down earlier, and they just laid off all their staff, and it's a big
Right?
mess.
Yeah, because there's somebody who, what was it? He dished out like $500 into that game or something, like
Yeah.
recently within the year, and
Get all
now he
the
finds out the
characters you
game is
love
completely shutting down.
Yeah.
Now he's like, I want my money back.
The video game crash of 2017.
Marvel went down. Everything's going down.
EA's going
Marvel
down.
went down. Star Wars went down.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say Stars went down. It's still gonna make a buttload of money.
Oh yeah.
Do you see that EA
Mario
didn't
went
even
down. The
change
pipe.
their
Well
didn't
done.
change their financial projections either. Like, this won't hurt us financially, even
Yeah.
though we're not making as much money through microtransactions.
I kind of breezed over title of an article the other day, and it was like, Marvel accidentally let slip that it was just a greasy ploy to get people's money with microtransactions.
Yeah.
I was like,
Brutal.
at least they're admitting it, I guess.
Disney's
Well,
getting weird lately.
Yeah.
I guess okay, we've kind of gone off the deep end here. Maybe we should come back up a little bit into the lighter side of stuff.
Get some air.
Because Tyson, you play a number of MMOs.
Mm-hmm.
What are the ones that you like, and why do you like them?
I'm not even sure. I like World of Warcraft is the main one I've played. I probably have close to 2 years played time on it over all my characters, like in-game time. That's a long time.
Life well lived.
Yeah. Hey now. I'm not even sure I like it anymore, to be honest, but I've sunk so much time into it, and it's so nostalgic that every expansion I'll pick it up. I'll resub for a couple months. My friends and I will play, and then we'll put it down.
But okay, well, here's the question then. So, like, what appeals to you when you look at an MMO?
The online interaction in the communities and the depths of the game, and the fact that you can play the same game for possibly many years.
Like World of Warcraft.
Like World of Warcraft or some of the other MMOs.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
that too. That is like one of the newest, best casual MMOs,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. Well, it's not really casual. You need to grind like days and days and
Yeah.
days to get anything in that game.
Yeah.
Or you could pay for it.
Or you can
Money.
pay for it.
Yeah.
Microtransactions. Nobody has a problem with that.
Well, what about you, Kelsey? Because you obviously don't play
I don't play any MMOs.
Any MMOs.
I-
So what does not appeal to you, besides maybe the subscription
A
stuff?
lot of the things Tyson
Everything.
likes about them, I don't. I don't like the social aspects of them. I had a coworker buy me Warcraft when it was new, and say like, you got to join my clan guild, something like that. And so she's like, I will fork out the money, you play this game with us. And I tried for the 2-week trial that it came with, and I hated it. It didn't seem like a game to me. It seemed like Facebook, but with like orcs and dwarves and stuff. Like, it was more about hanging out with your buddies, which there's other ways I'd rather do that than through a game. When I'm on the same couch with someone, that's a different story. I could sit there and play, Champions in Norath or Diablo or something with someone for endless amount of time. Different interaction that I enjoy. And my introduction to the genre was accidental too, which I think has a little bit to do with why I hate it. Because when the PlayStation 1 had the revision that came out, that's when I bought the console. And I bought Final Fantasy 9, loved it. So I went back and bought 7, 8, the Anthology Chronicles. Then when I got my PS2, I got Final Fantasy 10, loved it. When 11 came out, I was so invested in the series, I didn't look into anything about it. I was just like, I need to buy Final Fantasy 11.
I was just thinking in my head the numbers. I was like, wait a minute, 11's coming up pretty quick.
And so I take this home, and it's this huge, awesome collector's box, I thought, but it's not. It's got the hard drive in it that you need. That's why it's so big. Yeah. So I get home, and I'm trying to figure out how to play this, and then I finally get it set up, and I'm like, this isn't Final Fantasy. This is something completely different. So I ended up selling it right away and being very upset and burned on the series for quite a while.
Yeah. And they were in dark times for a long time after that too. A lot of people said 12 was good.
It sounds the one they have out now. It sounds like it's a lot better now, right? The new online version.
Well, 11, they've come out and said a couple times it is the most successful Final Fantasy ever. They've made 11? More money on that game than any other Final Fantasy game by a significant amount.
Well, granted, if there was ever a MMO Legend of Zelda that ever came out, oh good God!
Oh man, yeah.
Here comes the floodgates.
That's dirty. That feels wrong, I think.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting, but there would definitely be a big wave of people coming through. Like as soon as you did an MMO with Zelda, it would probably be the best selling Zelda game of all time.
Kelsey's earlier points about the social aspect of it and stuff like that is kind of like a commentary on the state of society and youth and stuff like that, because people want, and we've talked about this before with Grand Theft Auto, people want those worlds and those experiences where you can disappear and not have to deal with it, because like social anxieties and things like that are so prevalent now, and so many people classify themselves as introverted and
social anxiety disorders and
don't want to deal with that, and this gives them a window. Is that okay? Is it ruining our society, like what people are in general?
Like, it's way to interact, not necessarily better or worse. Just
it's just like, it's a very interesting point that you brought up with that, about how I was like, well, I'd rather sit next to a physical living person instead of being lost.
That's actually kind of funny, because there's an anime that just came out this year. It's called The Recovery of an MMO Addict.
Interesting.
Or it's actually a really good series. It's
weird
a nice
anime name.
It's a weird, but it's a story about a woman who, I guess she was working somewhere in Japan. She was working at a company, and she was a company person. And I don't know if she was laid off or she just decided that was it. But then she basically quits her life. She hates social aspect of it, everything, and she starts playing MMO. But then she starts interacting with these new people and joins a guild and has fun with them and stuff. And then the story turns around where it ends up being that one of her guild mates, that is a female character, is actually a male character in real life, and actually has ran into her in real life, and it's actually falling in love with her.
There's always a love arc.
The twist.
Always a love arc.
Yeah, there's always a love arc. In Japan, you'll always find your soulmate through some sort of video game or weird niche.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with the amount of people for me too. I do get social anxiety around big groups of people, even online big groups of people. That's where I'd rather have one-on-one. Like I don't have, none of my systems have online services right now. I don't enjoy paying for that, so I don't. But I could see myself playing like King of Fighters online or something like that, where it's just a one-on-one interaction, not where I've got a whole world of 1,000 or even a couple hundred people. That's overwhelming to me too.
Knowing you personally, I don't think you'd enjoy that either, because it's too salt-inducing. You're a very laid-back person. So like the online fighting game community,
Ooh.
It's rough.
Well, actually, Kelsey and I were just talking about that earlier this morning because this week as I was doing some editing on some of our video project and stuff, I accidentally came across salty Smash Brothers moments, and I'm like, oh,
Every Monday.
This social thing of these Smash Brothers players when they just get upset, like that's quite the interesting social.
Really invested
Were
in
you
the game.
editing
They were really
volume
invested.
3 and 4 of Title Bouts?
I haven't
when
gotten there
you
yet.
Came across that?
Almost,
'Cause
they're coming.
There's some heavy salt.
Let's bring it back to the MMO stuff. One of the points that I found interesting, sometimes there are a number of MMOs that are region locked, which are either you have to be within a certain server in order to access it, or you just don't get access to it, whatever. Like, my big example is Phantasy Star Online 2, because I really liked Phantasy Star Online when it was on the GameCube.
Yeah.
And then they had a
It's on Dreamcast as well.
yeah, it was on the Dreamcast too.
Yeah.
They had a revised version that was called Blue Burst, Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst, which was for the PC. But again, another subscription-based one. But it was on the PC, but you couldn't play it unless you were on a Japanese account, Japanese IP address, everything. Like you couldn't get to it. Period. And they had a couple of years ago, they had Phantasy Star Online 2 was released. And they actually, Sega talked about, they actually had plans of bringing it to the West side, to a Western audience. And I was waiting for it. They had a website. I think the website's still up, the website of the English version. And then Sega just dropped the ball and never released it. The only way that I can play it now is a friend of mine hooked me up with basically a cheat program that tricks the IP into creating a Japanese account and lets me play the game. And the game is obviously done so well in Japan that they now have a PS4 port of it, and I think they have now a Switch port of it. And I would
Really?
for me, I would love to pick that up right now because the gameplay compared to Phantasy Star number 1 and Online number 2 has changed quite a bit, and it's for the better. But it's sad that it's Japan only.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that.
I feel like a lot of smaller MMOs start out in the East because I think that's just where they eat it up. Like I think MMOs are a lot more popular in China and Japan.
Korea.
Yeah, Korea as well. Yep.
Huge.
And if they don't get popular enough, like with Phantasy Star, they just don't come to the West.
It's also a way to sustain yourself in Eastern companies as well.
Yeah.
Like me and my friends were playing PUBG last night, and we kept running into Eastern players on Western servers, and they were all cheating.
They're all making money for the boxes.
And they cheat
Yeah.
because it allows them to grind and win, get more points, to get boxes, which then they can sell the stuff that comes out of the boxes and make a living on it. So it's
I think there's a point on that later in the.
Yeah, actually,
today
that's
for
actually
bot
our next.
farmers.
That's actually
Yeah.
our next point in the discussion is bot farmers.
I'm too good.
Yeah, just got to work on those transitions, buddy.
Other than that,
Seamless.
like Paul mentioned, there's been talks to region locking PUBG to keep the hackers
Yeah.
in the East. I think that's another big reason why they do it is
Because is PUBG right now just a worldwide server and that's it? Besides personal
You
servers,
can pick
you can
which
pick
server.
right?
Like European,
European,
Asian-
NA, Asia, Australia.
It's what's that called? Oceania?
Yeah,
Oceanic?
Oceania.
there's 4 people on that server, I think.
Yeah. And they're not very good. That's
No.
where I get most of my chicken dinners.
But yeah, well, that will also go into that too, like the whole bot farming stuff. Because I know a lot of MMOs, especially the MMORPGs, like the number of stories we've heard over the years about gold farmers and whatnot. They're just sitting there like in World of Warcraft, just
farming.
making dollars and like,
Rocks
oh
on the
hey,
spacebar, man.
hey, give us your account information. We'll hook you up with this bot that'll run your account. So during the day when you actually have to go live your real life, that you'll make 6 million gold every day because the computer just takes it and just makes your character run around and does all the regular daily events round and round and round and round.
Or people, not even bot farming, but in the same train of thought, people playing characters to a certain level, then selling it to somebody and being like, here's a fully upgraded character so you don't have to go through pay to win. That's maybe one of the first examples of pay to win.
I understand the person's mindset who's leveling up that character to sell it. I don't understand the person buying it why wouldn't you just play a game that you enjoy enough to get your character to that level rather
Because
than
they're a
spend the money
lazy
there?
bastard.
They enjoy the
They'd-
concept of the game, but they want to be so powerful where they can just, and that's very common. That is
Yeah.
Star Wars. The loot box in Star Wars. There are people that want to do that.
There have been games where I've put in some sort of hack or something that gives me like all the power, and the game's not fun anymore.
It breaks the
That's
game.
what I feel. It's never fun when
Yeah.
I've done that when I was a kid, and I haven't done that in 20 years now because it sucked every time I did that.
Especially for MMOs, because like you put so much time into a character, you're supposed to form a bond. If you just buy someone else's, it feels bad.
That is some deep
That
cuts.
is you form a bond with your character. Mm.
I've integrated my soul into my Death Stalker.
Amazing
We are
Monsters 2
one.
on CBS.
Kids are-
starting Tyson.
Teasing fun, but I can see that if you spent a year of your life playing the same game and the
Yeah.
same character, and you've like named it and created it, and you've decided what armor and weapons and everything and guild, like I could totally see that attachment.
100%. 100%.
Lose that attachment if you just buy it. But people farm because it's super lucrative because people are lazy and will do it.
Yeah.
Although recently, I don't know about many other MMOs, but World of Warcraft has cracked down on farmers by basically making it so they've cut out the middleman. You can now go to Blizzard, the creators of World of Warcraft, and buy the thing.
That is true, because I do see every time they have expansions, they always have, hey, you buy the expansions, you get one free character boost to level 100 whatever.
They've also introduced these token things where this token you can buy with real money or in-game gold is worth 1 month of subscription. Or you can trade that token in for in-game money. So you pay your 15 or 25 bucks for this token, trade it in, and get whatever the gold value is worth in-game. So they've essentially cut out the gold buyer middleman. You can't really buy gold anymore because you can do it better through Blizzard, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's probably smart because they've over the years been dropping subscription price, right? So that's probably a way to even out what they're still making financially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll move on to kind of getting to the end of the discussion here, but because obviously we have a wide range of experience and what we like or dislike about MMOs. I'm going to start with Tyson on this next one here. What would be your perfect MMO?
Perfect MMO.
What would you be able to do? Like, what would be your limitations on it? Or would you pay a subscription for it? Would it be all for free? Like, in terms of what would be the perfect one?
Like, are we talking realistic here? Or just
realistic.
Okay, all right. I would.
Obviously the perfect one would just be like
Yeah,
plug a cable into the neck and just live on the.
Favorite one is as well. What is perfect fantasy?
That's for a different podcast.
Yeah, that's not the PG-13 podcast. There would be a subscription just so the devs could keep the money flowing. It would probably
That's your
be,
perfect option?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is to pay a subscription.
Absolutely. I
But
would rather.
what kind of price point though?
Consumerism at its
Like, would it be-
finest.
So I would pay a subscription as opposed to paying in-game transactions. In-game transactions break my immersion and it makes me feel bad.
But like this is a fantasy game that you get to build. You wouldn't just pay a one-time fee and still have new content coming out for it?
If we're talking a realistic world
He
here,
didn't say realistic. He said perfect.
No.
No, he said realistic. He said
I did say
realistic.
realistically
Grounded in
because
reality.
the perfect MMO would just be give me a cable. I'm going to stick it in my
the
neck. I'm going to
Ready
live
Player
on the
One.
internet and never come back.
Ready Player One, right?
yeah. No, realistically,
Feed
I'd
me
pay.
baby
I don't
food.
want that.
I don't want that either.
Yeah.
I would be okay with that. I would do that.
You'd live in the Matrix.
My life sucks. Yeah. No. I'm just kidding.
My life. We
I'll
need
plug
to
in.
probably have a talk after this.
Oh,
I've watched Ghost in the Shell.
It's going to be the
The
next
anime,
Tom
not the
Hanks.
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
jump off the World Trade Center.
Well, you missed that.
Uh-oh.
It's a tall monument there now.
There's something.
It would be a subscription. It would be high fantasy. Pretty much just like Dungeons and Dragons, but just digitized, pretty much. Kind of like the old classic ones were. More akin to classic WoW than it is in its current state. There would be like a decent time sink. Like you'd have to put in a decent amount of time, I think.
Like kind of almost real world esque, where like every minute you spend is almost a minute in real life.
Not quite that grindy. That would be pretty crazy. But like,
You never see
Right.
certain day cycles.
I'm back, guys. It's been 2 weeks. It is?
grindy enough that there's a pretty big sense of accomplishment behind getting some stuff. Other than that, it's pretty broad after that. That's really all my criteria for good MMO. That's why I've tried so many of the new ones.
Have you played Conan Exiles?
I have.
Thoughts?
It's pretty good. The endowment slider kind of threw me off.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was an awesome addition. Tyson's perfect
Yeah.
MMO.
The devs got paid money to put that in.
Yeah.
I like Conan Exiles actually. It was alright. Didn't like hook me like I thought it would, but I sunk a couple weeks into it.
I was really hooked on that game before I bought like my new computer.
Mm-hmm.
So my computer would always crash, and the game was so buggy that it kind of. Anyway, sorry, getting off topic.
That's pretty much what my perfect MMO is. Just kind of the older style of MMO that would be subscription based, so I wouldn't have to pay microtransactions. Upfront fee would probably be small. Nowadays, you can buy World of Warcraft for like $15 or $25, and that's all your upfront.
So if it was a smaller fee up front, say like $20,
Yeah,
and
I would-
then some small amounts of like $5 or $10 every month to keep it going.
Yeah, paying $90 for a brand new AAA MMO, and then $25 or $15 a month feels pretty bad. I was doing the math before I came, and I've spent something like $2,500 or $2,900 on WoW.
A year?
No, oh god, no, the entirety of my lifetime.
Okay.
I've got a friend who has that 10-year subscription statue for
Really?
having unbroken 10-year.
Oh, I've broken my subscription.
Yeah.
You get a statue for that?
Yeah, and
I
he's
feel
got
bad now.
2 of them because they sent one to his wrong address when he moved from Australia to Canada. And then so they resent him one to Canada, and then his parents sent him up the old
Who are
one.
we talking about here?
Paul knows this guy. But yeah, he's been playing WoW that long. Like I
That's
can't imagine
crazy.
the amount of money that's.
I
been
didn't know he
sunk in
was a
there.
WoW player. I am going to.
That's how he met his wife.
Pester
They met
him?
on WoW, and then he moved up here to marry her.
You
I-
can't see my face melting right now, but somebody just opened the Ark of the Covenant.
How about you, Paul? What's your dream or reasonable MMO?
I like anything to do with, I want to say, a more realistic fantasy game. Like the world that Conan is in. I'm a big Conan fan.
Mm-hmm.
So Conan Exiles was like really close to what I want in a game. I liked the idea of no subscription, but they're constantly releasing really good content. But because the game is priced a little higher,
Mm-hmm.
I'd pay, if I know like a lot of care and attention has gone into a game, I'd pay $100, maybe a little bit more for something that I know I can play for 5 years and constantly be upgraded and challenged and entertained. I would also like to see and Conan did a really interesting thing too, where if you jumped on the early access to help them test it out, you paid $30 for the game, and then you didn't pay a retail price and you still get all the stuff. You got all the upgrades, so that's a good idea too. Not everybody wants to do that, but give people the option. Or something like a functional No Man's Sky that doesn't have the derpy graphics in it.
I'd forgotten about No Man's Sky. until you
Supposedly,
mentioned
No
it.
Man's Sky has
head
been
hurts
improved
now.
so much that it actually is what it was supposed to be now.
I don't like the visual aesthetic of that game, but
It's very unique. Yeah.
I'd like something that is.
Have you ever played EVE Online? That sounds similar to No Man's Sky.
You got to be a banker to play Evo.
Yeah,
You gotta be
there's a
an
lot
accountant
of
too.
money in
Yeah.
Evo.
What was there's this MMO that's
Eve.
supposed to be coming out soon, trademark, and it's been like
TM.
soon TM. No, but it's like it's so ridiculously hyped. Star Citizen.
Star Citizen.
Yes.
That game's not gonna come out.
No, it's not. But that's like something up your alley.
Yeah,
kind of.
I would be into that where I'm willing to pay a certain amount of money. The graphics are more realistic, I guess.
Mhm.
I can build my own spaceships and go between third and first person, do stuff like that, fly to different planets, meet people, get trolled, because that's all part of the online experience. Hate myself, hate the world, quit the game, get back into the game. Like, that's the MMO experience.
Paul knows what's up. Yeah.
It's the roller coaster of emotions. You are online, like I said, deep dives into the internet. It's not for information. It's for the roller coaster of emotions and sensory overload that you're going to get. That's what I want.
Paul's MMO is just an MMO of his life. Just a roller coaster of emotions. Whee!
Maze and monsters.
Kelsey, obviously, you probably wouldn't want an MMO.
No, I can't. The
But
the
w-
perfect MMO for me would be an MMO where someone pays me to play it. because it's just not something that appeals to me.
Wait,
Did
He could be a gold
happen.
farmer. He could be a
Didn't you
gold
have that
farmer.
already though? You had someone pay you
Yeah.
to. I bought you the game, but you didn't like
No,
it.
they I didn't invest any money, but they weren't like, if you join my guild every week, here's $50. Like they weren't doing that kind of paying
Oh,
me to
okay.
play it.
He's a gold
Like
farmer.
even if I get
yeah.
that game for free, it's just not a genre
Or
that
a
I'm
Twitch player.
into or appeals to me. So
Because that's the new
That's the new fad. Just
Yeah.
stream your games, make money.
stream your games to make money. That's essentially what you're talking about.
but I'd rather do that with a genre I enjoy. So I don't
and
know.
you can do that on Twitch.
I don't know what.
So
An MMO
Twitch
could
is his
offer me.
perfect MMO.
All right,
massively
Twitch is my
multiplayer.
perfect MMO.
He gets
There you
paid to
go.
play games that he likes in front
Um,
of an audience.
for me, I'd love probably kind of going towards Tyson's idea of having like that kind of fantasy esque, like almost Dungeons and Dragons esque. But for me though, it'd be like the style of like Phantasy Star Online 2. Like I like the blending of fantasy stuff with more like new technology kind of look, like
Steampunk.
you know, like very not steampunk,
Not quite
but like
steam-
very
okay.
like you know futuristic looking, like almost
So like
robotic
post-apocalyptic that's regressed
Like
back
Nier?
into a
No, not post-apocalyptic. Like I'm trying to find the best wording for it. Like almost like take kind of a hint of Gundam, a hint of you know just humanoid robots and stuff. Just mix it all
Xenosaga.
together. Xenosaga kind of.
that's kind of like a post-apocalyptic where there's been a civilization that has gone so far and something's happened and most of
Restarted
society
the
has
But I-
regressed.
But what I'd want in my game is let me make a character. Let me play it the way I want. Don't put me behind weird skill trees where I'm only limited to
Yeah.
X number of things.
I
Like
love skill trees.
Me too.
like give me a game where it's like if I use the more I use a skill, the more it improves. Like I use a fireball attack. Oh, now I can use a devastating fireball attack because I've kept using it.
A little off target, but you know what game did that really, really well? It's Tony Hawk's Underground.
The
Oh, yeah,
M-
that's right.
Best
Yeah.
MMO.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought
Right, because
shooting
the more you
fireballs-
grind,
Yeah, just
the more
the more you
it's
grind, the better you get. The more you jump, the higher you can jump. Like it was really cool.
Just like kind of on topic, but do you feel like what are your thoughts on games like Conan and Minecraft are different styles of MMO where you're like building
Mm-hmm.
things and like do you feel that there's a place for that as well? Is that
Like
in
the-
your perfect
In the building, like the building
like
aspect.
you're mining, crafting on the fly.
I
building
would,
houses
I was
and
actually
stuff
going to
like
add
that.
into part of mine like give me the option to like
Can I
build
add
a
mine to
house
that too?
or
Yeah.
build like
Craft.
allow me to craft a life for my character.
Have
Like
you ever
don't
heard
just
of Second Life, Dustin?
no.
You
I,
might-
I'm
you
not.
might- you
We're
might
not
like
talking
that
about
game.
that.
Why didn't we talk about that today? It
Yeah, we
seems like an
glossed over
important
it.
one.
That's kind of down the dark hole of. The,
We didn't talk about like MMO addiction either. Those two go pretty good together.
MMOs is the time to dig deep. Dark dives. Dustin,
Really
we're
looking
here to
word.
help. Let us in.
I'm not going to censor the next 20 minutes of the discussion.
Weeping into the microphone.
I would add building to my list. It's hard to accomplish in an MMO setting just because, like, if you want your house, like, if you're going to build something, you want to be able to show off your house. And you want it to be in the real world game server. Don't laugh at me, Kelsey.
Keeping it in there.
The issue with that is like how are thousands of people going to build their houses on this game server without it getting
That is-
buggy and
that's-
crashy?
It limits people's experience too. Because like I really want to build a house there. Somebody's built a house there.
It's just like real life. It's just like real life.
Wall.
There was a big controversy in Final Fantasy 14
I was
really
just gonna bring
recently,
that up, yeah.
where people like bought up all the property to build houses here, and then there weren't enough for the other people that wanted to buy houses and property, and they had
too
to
much
unleash
like real
more.
life.
And
That's what Conan's like. Conan people will go around and put blocks everywhere, and and when the game first came out, blocks would just stay. So there was nowhere in the game where you could build anything because within a certain parameter of that block. So somebody would like, come on, place blocks everywhere, and then you were just like, well, I'm just naked and afraid.
yeah, it became like the
We're
only
gonna
the
build a
wealthiest players
wall.
had.
Yeah. And then they eventually added in it decays over time. So if you're not
Upkeeping your block.
yeah, it will waste away, which was a good option. But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of being able to build stuff because it's yours, but then it also really limits other people's.
RuneScape did it in
Experience
a
of the
way. Each player has their own house server, so basically you log into you zone into an instanced version of your house, and you can invite your buddies over. So it's not taking up
that's-
in-game space basically.
There's a
You have
number.
your own
Yeah,
house.
there's a number of ideas like
Be
that.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
look,
Look at this
that
big house.
structure.
Well, no, it's like
And then they
it's,
destroy it. You
it's like
log
all
on,
the
you're
players
like,
show up to like say this apartment, but you input your number, and
Yeah.
you're popped into your
Grand
place.
Theft Auto.
How did they do it in GTA 5? Yeah, just
Yeah,
like that.
there was apartment buildings all over the place, and you'd go up to the buzzer, and
Okay.
everybody was essentially the same apartment building.
But you'd buzz in a
But it
different
was
number.
yours, yeah.
Okay. That's a neat way to do it.
Yeah, it was good.
I would add a really in-depth economy. Not like Eve levels of in-depth economy because that's too bonkers for me. But the way World of Warcraft is now, or RuneScape maybe, there's like an auction house and you can buy and sell your things. And if you're
With
really good,
Just in-game currency or real life?
in-game currency. And if you put in enough time or you're really good at crunching the numbers, you can like play the stock market and like
There, actually, it's funny that you say that because I can recall. I think it's a game theory video that World of Warcraft is one of the best market or economy simulators because they input like say some sort of new mechanic into the game and it devastates or intensifies the rest of the game for adding in this one little thing because the market changes, everything changes.
GTA 5 was actually going to do that online. It was going to incorporate a stock market system. So it was like, if players on your server are dying a lot and you have stocks in the hospital or medical supplies, they go up. If people are fighting each other a lot, like the ammo goes up, or if you're calling mercenaries, like the military stocks will go.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they never
The
did
drug runners are doing really good. The
Yeah,
price
exactly.
of cocaine goes up.
Stocks of cocaine through the roof.
In World of
1980s
Warcraft,
all over again.
I downloaded an add-on that essentially turned the auction house, it basically turned it into what looked like a stock market. You could just sit at the auction house or the bank or whatever you'd call it, and you could keep the tab open and it would be running and it would be getting constant data from like the buying and selling. And you're like, oh man, this herb is doing really good today. Like I'm going to dump my excess. Or this is really low today. I'm going to buy it out.
Or invest in red potions. Buy.
Exactly.
That's a little intense. I'm not willing to put that much time into a game. I want to just come and go as I please.
fair.
Live my own world.
Oh no, I have too many Star Wars cards. Sell.
Thanks. I bought too many boxes. Too many loot crates.
Can you sell unopened loot crates?
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
that's in any game that has loot crates. You can actually, I think, sell them. There's a way to
Steam
most of
games, you
them.
can sell them on the
Yeah,
marketplace.
Steam games,
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Well then, kind of to sign off our discussion here, I guess it's going to be what are your guys' predictions on the future of MMOs? Are we going to get more PUBGs? Are we going to actually get some more detailed, World of Warcrafts, or are we going to eventually just see these kind of slip away?
Oh, I think it's only going up. We're definitely going to see now that PUBG has come out and it's a functional battle royale game. Like there's ones before like DayZ, which had its problems, Arma 3, which had its problems. Now that people have seen it done correctly, like Fortnite's come out. There's another battle royale game that just came out or is coming out.
Well, it could be argued that Fortnite it just was PUBG. They took their idea basically.
Well, it was a like a tower defense game originally that came out, and you could build things, and just like hordes of aliens would come, and you'd defend it against it, and then everybody was buying it, and they're like, "Oh, this is not great."
I think it was because tower defense games have already come and gone.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see tons of battle royale games come out, and we're gonna see
because there were already talks like Activision's going to do that for like Call of Duty and stuff like that. So
and I feel like MMORPGs, I like marble mouth that out. MMO, they've kind of stalled out.
I would agree.
Like we had Conan Exiles this year, and that one came out, and it's okay in popularity, but I think it's only a matter of time before, and it might be waiting on graphics or ways to play, like with VR really picking up.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that.
Yeah, I think like Star Wars Bridge Commander, I want to buy VR just
You mean
for
Star
that.
Trek?
Star Trek,
People
yeah.
are still waiting for that killer VR app, and I think once they find an MMO that fits it
Yeah.
and that appeals to people, that's going to be that app that everyone wants a headset for.
Yeah, so
actually, it's funny that you say that because that's the premise of the Dot Hack series. Is that the Dot Hack series is you are playing an MMO, but you do wear a headset, so you see from the perspective of your character at all times. It's not a third
behind, yeah.
not a behind camera, like you only ever see your camera, and like so they tilt down that and they see down, so that
So
would be
it's-
an interesting premise.
I don't think MMO games will die down.
No.
Like I said, there's so like social anxieties and stuff like that are so prevalent now, and the internet is so functional. Like trying to play a game like World of Warcraft in 2000 or before that, like wasn't going to happen with your internet and your connections and stuff like that. The internet's getting better, graphics are getting better. You know, in 3 years, another like earth-shattering MMO is going to come out, and so
Hopefully.
it's just like gaming. Gaming's just on the rise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, great. They did, yeah, because I think it was like early on in the year that they said that there's more money being made in video gaming than there is in movies and TV combined.
Yeah.
So yeah, video gaming definitely is making quite a bit. What about you, Tyson? What are your thoughts?
I kind of agree with Paul. Like your classic style of MMORPG is probably on the downfall. I think people are just not willing to put in enough time to grind out games like that. But then the games like PUBG or GTA Online, they're on the rise, I think. Looking towards the future. Yeah, the old classic. It makes me sad, but the old classic MMORPG I don't think is doing so hot. WoW's numbers are down. A lot of like
You're saying not doing so hot, but they still have millions upon millions of subscribers. Like,
yeah, not so hot.
It's not at its
what they
peak,
were.
but
Yeah.
it's still a pretty significant game.
And I feel that this conversation has a really big overarching, like it's been covered in all of our podcasts so far, that MMOs are kind of the, like that's where microtransactions kind of started. That's where the future's headed, like I've said before. We're not going to escape it. It's just going to be
It's going to change.
more and more and more and more. I hope it changes, but
It's going to keep changing. I mean, it's not going to go away.
it's not
just
going to go stagnant,
become different types of transactions over time.
MMOs created the monster that Kelsy hates so much.
It's not my favorite direction that gaming's going in, but there's still enough stuff that appeals to me that I can't fault other people for liking it. It's not like
Would you
it's
come
taken
and
away.
watch me play an MMO?
I think that's the most boring thing on planet Earth. Watching someone else, like just watch someone else play an MMO is pretty bad because MMOs themselves can be pretty lackluster at times, and then watching somebody else do it is like.
I enjoy learning about games, so I'm okay to watch. Depends how long you want me to watch for. Like, I'm okay sitting in 30 minutes checking out Conan with you. Like, that's interesting to me.
It depends on the person.
Well, it depends on the context of the video too, because I can think back to the Game Grumps tried that a little while back, where they tried to have a couple of the guys who'd never played an MMO before, and they made a little mini series out of it. But it wasn't just we're gonna sit here and watch them play for 12 hours straight. It was edited. So you got like the highlights of it, which that would be worth watching if someone's playing an MMO. Like I would watch a video if it was the highlights of a guild going through a raid or something. But I'm not going to sit there and wait for, the entire 6-hour raid.
It's all about how somebody plays too. Like Kelsy would probably enjoy me fumbling through the world, getting really angry at stuff.
Where is the rock of knowledge?
Endowment meter up and down. The whole time.
Exactly. That's what Kelsy likes about me.
So Kelsey's thought, obviously, just
I agree 100% with both what these guys said. They're not on the downfall overall. Just the style that's on the uprise is quite different than your traditional one. And I think once we hit a cool VR accessible MMO, that's going to be the killer app there, and it's going to do well for at least a few years until new technology replaces it.
kind of in the same boat. I don't want too many Battleground-esque games. Like there's going to be obviously going to be in the next year or two. Definitely 2 years. Oversaturation of battle royale games, but I would love to see some sort of, with the money coming down on the cost of VR headsets, like give me, like I was saying, like almost that dot hack style of like give me a VR headset and an MMO. I'd be happy with that.
Give me a Star Trek MMO where I am going through discovering new planets, and like that's pretty exciting.
That would be
stuff.
pretty awesome.
And then that's when Paul starts the game and realizes he's been given a red shirt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Challenge
not making it
accepted.
off of the bridge today. It was a good day in this podcast. I like having Tyson on.
Yeah.
Lots of agreeing with me. I might have to have him back more. It was a good day to be me.
Paul says good things.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
What are
on,
your
guys.
thoughts, Tyson? I loved it. I thought it was great.
Paul was great. I loved it.
Clip that. Paul says good things. Yes, I do.
And as our viewers can't see the $20 bill being slipped under the table. Yeah, so okay. So that was a pretty good discussion here. So I think that takes care of it for today for our discussion on MMOs. If you have any questions or anything or any topics you'd like us to cover in another later episode, feel free to leave a comment below, and also make sure to subscribe, because then you'll be notified on our next videos, including our newest series that's being released, Title Bout, which is Kelsy and Paul having at it with their rivalry of fighting games.
Head-to-head
Big
competition.
emotional swings coming. Big emotional swings.
The amount of salt falling from the sky is just like the
On-
snow
on
outside.
both sides after
on
a while.
both sides, yeah.
Yeah,
So that'll be
definitely
fun.
like and subscribe.
I look forward to that.
Head over to our Facebook page for GameQuest. It'll be linked in the description. Give us a follow. Dustin always posts stuff about when things come out and stuff like that. And also tell a friend. If you like what you hear, and you have friends that like the same stuff.
If you have friends.
If you have friends, we can be
Tell
your
your
friends.
MMO guild to
We're
check
your
it
new
out
friends.
If you don't have
If you
friends.
have social anxieties, we understand.
Yeah.
But just as long as you share it to one friend and then they share it to another friend, we'll all be good.
Yeah, and it just, like I said, if you have friends that like the same stuff, why not share the wealth? Don't hoard us.
We get more valuable if you hoard us.
That's
We're like gold coins.
Is that how that works? I
Yeah.
don't know.
So MMO.
Our stock is
currencies work,
rising.
right? We're like a loot crate.
great.
You want to sell us unopened?
For sure.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Tyson. We'll hopefully get to
Hope
see
to
you
be on
again
soon. Yeah.
on the next one.
Sayonara.